where we will paste the text of the inscription and we will hide that word with question marks.
For centuries, the voices of ancient civilizations were locked away, hidden in crumbling scrolls, stone tablets, and undeciphered scripts. Historians tried, linguists guessed, but no one could break the silence. Until now. Because what if these voices weren't lost, just waiting for a mind powerful enough to understand them? Artificial intelligence is now doing what no human ever could, decoding the dead languages of our past. And the things it's revealing, some are incredible, some are mysterious, and a few are deeply unsettling. From cryptic warnings carved into bone to prophecies buried in volcanic ash, this is more than just translation. It's a doorway into ancient minds, and what's coming through that door might just rewrite everything we thought we knew. Here are 15 astonishing times AI decoded ancient languages and revealed secrets that had been buried in silence.
For nearly 2,000 years, the charred papyrus scrolls found in Herculaneum have been indecipherable.
In the year 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius erupted with unforgiving fury, burying the Roman town of Herculaneum under a choking wave of volcanic ash and fire. Among the ruins lay something extraordinary. A library, its walls lined with hundreds of papyrus scrolls, now charred black and fragile as ash. For nearly 2,000 years, they sat in silence, too delicate to unroll, too precious to destroy. That silence ended in 2023. A challenge was issued, a global call to arms for coders, classicists, and computer scientists. The Vesuvius Challenge. The prize? Over $1 million to anyone who could use AI to virtually unroll these incinerated scrolls and read what had been lost to time. Enter Luke Ferreter, a 21-year-old student armed not with an archaeology degree, but with machine learning. He fed the scrolls into a custom AI model and found the first word, porphyrus, Greek for purple. That one word cracked the seal on history.
The whole Herculaneum scrolls thing, he explains the challenge, and at the end he says, if you're listening, there's a chance you could win. And I was like, holy cow, like I have to give this a go. When I started in March, I just wanted to get a good handle on kind of how the challenge works, what the data looks like, and just develop good intuitions there. It was a rare occurrence where I attended a party and, I was just kind of sitting in the corner and I get a text from one of the people on the segmentation team, like, hey, just uploaded this new piece of flattened papyrus. I accessed my computer from my cell phone, kind of set it to run on this new piece. And then I just put my phone away, don't think about it again. And as I'm walking out of the parking garage to return to my college dorm room, I just pull out my phone again and like, I wonder how that new segment's doing. And I look at my phone and there were like 3 Greek letters there. It was amazing. I completely freaked out.
He joined forces with Youssef Nader and Julian Schilliger, and by February 2024, they had decoded over 2,000 Greek characters from a scroll that had once looked like a lump of coal. What they uncovered was astonishing. Philodemus, a philosopher of the Epicurean school, was the author. His words, trapped for millennia, spoke of pleasure, reason, strategic silence, and resistance to tyranny. These weren't idle thoughts. They were reflections on how societies fall when truth is buried and fear becomes law. This wasn't just a technological triumph, it was a resurrection. AI didn't just decipher the past, it gave it a voice that fire tried to silence, a voice now echoing into our present, louder than ever. You've heard of cuneiform. You've seen Egyptian hieroglyphs, but the Decoded script, that one's still whispering from the shadows of history. Scattered along the riverbanks of modern-day Serbia, Bulgaria, and Romania, archaeologists uncovered strange symbols etched into pottery, figurines, and stones. For decades, scholars couldn't agree. Was this a writing system or just decorative doodles from a forgotten culture? Then AI got involved. Researchers fed the symbols into advanced pattern recognition models and suddenly, structure emerged. Syntax, repetition, patterns that mirrored real language. Some of these carvings are over 7,000 years old. If the Decoded script is truly written language, and all signs now point that way, it predates every other known system on Earth. older than hieroglyphs, older than cuneiform, and yet we still don't know what it says. But what we do know is chilling. The arrangement, spacing, and symbolic repetition are no accident. They were intentional, messages meant to endure. So who wrote this ancient code while most of humanity was still learning to farm? And more mysteriously, why did it disappear without a trace? From the smoldering ruins of Italy, we travel east into the sun-baked earth of ancient Mesopotamia, where civilization was born, and its first voice was carved into clay. That voice? Akkadian cuneiform. Over 500,000 tablets have been discovered, pressed with neat rows of wedge-shaped marks, cataloged in museums across the world. And yet, most of them remain unread, silent for 5,000 years. Why? Because translating Akkadian is notoriously brutal. Only a few hundred people on Earth can do it. Its grammar is complex. Its vocabulary is ancient. Its signs, over 21,000 variations, require deep expertise. But in 2023, something shifted. Researchers at Tel Aviv and Ariel University built an AI model trained on thousands of already translated Akkadian texts. It learned the patterns, the structures, the subtle variations, like a machine-powered Rosetta Stone. Think of it as Google Translate, but for the oldest Semitic language in existence, and it worked. The translations were fast, accurate, and stunning. Meanwhile, another major effort, the AI Cuneiform Corpus, led by Steve Koberlein, processed over 130,000 texts, drawing from databases like CDLI and ORAC. Even teams in Germany got involved, using 3D modeling and neural networks to scan tablets from multiple angles, mapping their symbols with never-before-seen precision. What are we finding? Not magic spells or alien scripts, but real human stories. Trade deals, tax ledgers, marriage contracts, laws, and yes, even portions of the Epic of Gilgamesh, the oldest known literary masterpiece. Thanks to AI, the cradle of civilization is no longer silent. Clay tablets that once sat gathering dust are now speaking again, and what they're saying is rewriting the origin story of humanity. You think you know the Dead Sea Scrolls? Think again. Discovered in the 1940s in the caves of Qumran, these ancient manuscripts, older than most modern religions, were written by a Jewish sect known as the Essenes. For decades, scholars studied them as sacred relics, decoding scripture and prophecy line by line. But in 2021, artificial intelligence uncovered something no human eye could detect. At the University of Groningen, researchers fed a deep learning model thousands of samples of the Hebrew letter Aleph from the Great Isaiah Scroll, one of the most complete and studied texts of the entire collection. The result? Tiny, nearly invisible variations. Two distinct scribes revealed not by ink, but by pressure, stroke, and style. That revelation shattered old assumptions. The scroll wasn't the solitary work of one holy hand. It was a collaborative production, likely part of an organized scribal team, operating in secret during a time of political and religious unrest. And it gets deeper. AI didn't just identify different hands, it sensed emotion. Slight changes in rhythm and pressure hinted at fatigue, urgency, even tension. These weren't robotic transcribers, they were people, living in shadows, writing with purpose, under pressure we may never fully understand. Forget myths of hidden Bible codes. The real story here is one of human touch, of process and production, of ancient voices struggling to be heard. Thanks to AI, we're not just reading scripture, we're meeting the scribes behind the pen. Return to South Asia, and you'll find one of archaeology's most perplexing mysteries, the Indus script, a language carved in silence by a civilization that never left behind a war, a king, or a translation. Between 2600 and 1900 BC, the Indus Valley civilization flourished in what is now Pakistan and northwest India. It was advanced, vast, and strikingly peaceful. No armies, no conquests, just structured cities, intricate drainage systems, and enigmatic symbols etched onto seals, pottery, and tablets. But here's the twist. There's no Rosetta Stone, no bilingual inscription, No translation key, just rows of symbols that seem to defy interpretation. Then in 2009, Professor Rajesh P.N. Rao and his team tried something different. They built a Markov model, a statistical tool that analyzes sequence patterns, and fed it every known Indus inscription. What came out was jaw-dropping. Non-random language-like behavior. The symbols followed rules. They had rhythm, structure, possibly even grammar. It didn't stop there. AI-powered deep learning models took the research even further. Some achieved over 80% accuracy in symbol segmentation, uncovering recurring sequences across different sites, suggesting a standardized writing system used across the civilization. But challenges remain. Most inscriptions are painfully short, just 4 to 5 characters, and no one knows what spoken language the script was built on. Still, the mystery is closer than ever to being solved. There's now a $1 million prize on the table for anyone who can crack the code. With AI sharpening its focus, someone might soon walk away with more than money. They might unlock the voice of a forgotten civilization that chose peace over power and left behind a language waiting to speak again. Travel halfway across the world to Easter Island, and you'll find a language carved not in stone, but in mystery. It's called Rongorongo, a script discovered in the 1860s, etched into wooden tablets in a strange, hypnotic style. The glyphs snake from left to right, then right to left, line after line, like a mirror flipping with every row. The direction alone is enough to leave scholars baffled. Only about 24 tablets survive, and the people who wrote them? Silenced before the 20th century. No Rosetta Stone, no living speakers. Just glyphs carved into driftwood and speculation. For decades, experts debated, was it really writing or just symbolic art? In the 1950s, researchers thought the symbols might represent family lineages or calendar systems. In the 1990s, another scholar proposed they told creation myths. None of it could be proven, but now AI is listening. Using machine vision, researchers have begun isolating individual glyphs and cataloging them across all known samples. The models aren't translating just yet, but they are detecting recurring shapes, structural groupings, and potential linguistic traits. Patterns are forming where there was once only chaos. For the first time in history, Rongorongo has digital allies. These wooden tablets, long silenced in museum drawers, are starting to pulse with potential. AI can't read them yet, but it's learning how. Because sometimes the past isn't lost, it's just waiting for the right algorithm. When you think of ancient American writing, your mind probably goes to Maya glyphs or Zapotec script, but deep in the shadow of these giants lies a forgotten underdog, the Isthmian script, also known as Epi-Olmec. It appears on just a handful of relics, like the Tuxtla statuette and the La Majara stela, dating between 500 BC and 500 AD, and yet its symbols hint at a fully developed system of writing, one that no one has managed to decode. In the 1990s, researchers like Justison and Kaufman made partial breakthroughs, suggesting possible phonetic values and syntax, but their findings remain hotly debated, and without more evidence, the script slipped back into obscurity. So where does AI fit in? While no major project has targeted Isthmian directly, researchers at MIT's CSAIL lab have developed AI models built specifically for languages like this: undeciphered, ancient, and data-starved. Using a technique called evolutionary linguistics, these models compare how language changes over time, mapping symbol order, morphology, and frequency across known and unknown systems. It's not about translating one word at a time. It's about uncovering the DNA of a language, piece by piece. If enough inscriptions could be scanned and fed into these models, AI could reveal hidden patterns in syntax, grammar, or even pronunciation. The tools are ready, the methods exist. Now all that's missing is the data. Somewhere in the glyphs of the Isthmian script, a civilization is still waiting to be heard. All it takes is someone willing to give the machines a chance to listen. Some ancient mysteries took centuries to solve. Others are falling in hours. Take Linear B as an early form of Greek writing used by the Mycenaean civilization between 1450 and 1200 BC. For decades, the script sat in scholarly limbo, its wedge-like markings impossible to decipher, until 1952.
Until Michael Ventris, an architect turned linguist, cracked it in 1952.
That's when Michael Ventris, a British architect with a passion for languages, cracked the code and revealed Linear B as the earliest known form of written Greek. It was a breakthrough that rewrote history books. But then came 2019. A team at MIT, including researchers Jiaming Luo and Regina Barzilay, built a model that didn't just analyze the script, it translated over 67% of cognates between Linear B and modern Greek. That's not just accurate, that's revolutionary. AI didn't need decades, it needed data. And it wasn't just Greek. In 2010, another MIT team led by Ben Snyder and Kevin Knight applied machine learning to Ugaritic, an ancient Semitic script from what is now Syria. By comparing it to Biblical Hebrew, their system decoded the language in mere hours, aligning roots, grammar, and sentence structure across millennia. Both breakthroughs relied on comparative linguistics, where AI maps similarities across related languages like a geneticist tracing family trees. These models don't just translate, they trace how language evolved over thousands of years. The result? Languages once thought permanently lost are now falling fast. And as AI gets faster, smarter, and more intuitive, ancient scripts are no longer safe in their silence, because with the right data, even time can't protect a mystery. Not all writing is made of words. Some messages are carved directly into the earth. Stretching across the barren desert of southern Peru lie the Nazca lines, massive geoglyphs etched into stone and sand over 2,000 years ago. Some are simple shapes, others depict animals, birds, fish, even people. You've probably seen the giant hummingbird, its wings perfectly stretched across the desert floor. But that's just one of many. For decades, archaeologists identified around 430 geoglyphs. Then came 2024, and with it, a breakthrough.
In 2024, a team from Yamagata University in Japan, working with IBM Research, used AI to uncover 303 new geoglyphs in Peru's Nazca Desert.
Researchers from Yamagata University in Japan, working with IBM Research, trained AI image recognition models on aerial and satellite photographs. In just 6 months, the system spotted an additional 303 geoglyphs, some as small as 10 feet, others hundreds of feet wide. Many had been hiding in plain sight, weathered, fragmented, or too faint for the human eye. But to AI, trained to detect patterns across pixels and perspectives, they lit up like ancient neon. Some of these new lines traced animals, whales, cats, monkeys. Others depicted ceremonial figures, geometric spirals, or symbols aligned along footpaths, suggesting they were meant to be seen from the ground, not the sky. And while some theories point to ritual use or cosmological maps, their true meaning remains elusive. AI doesn't debunk the wild theories, yes, the ones involving aliens, but it brings us something far better: data, patterns, proof. Even in one of the world's most barren landscapes, ancient people left behind stories, just written in dirt and stone, and now, with machines looking from above, we're finally starting to read the ground beneath our feet. Sometimes language doesn't look like language at all. High in the Andes, the mighty Inca Empire left behind no scrolls, no tablets, no carved stone inscriptions. What they left instead were threads, bundles of knotted cords called quipus. For centuries, these looked like accounting tools, color-coded strings tied in intricate knots, once thought to be nothing more than ledgers for taxes, census records, or livestock inventories. But what if that's only the surface? Enter a new generation of researchers and AI. Anthropologist Sabine Hyland pored through Spanish colonial records and surviving quipus. Her findings hinted at something far more profound, that some quipus might be phonetic, possibly even narrative, telling stories encoded in wool and fiber. Now, with the help of AI, the theory is gaining traction. Statistical models are analyzing the position of knots, spacing between ties, and string placement. The results? Pattern far too complex to be random. Could a cluster of knots represent syllables? Could a shift in color signal tone or tense? Each thread is being re-examined like a sentence in disguise. The Incas may have developed a tactile language, a form of information storage that spoke through texture, not ink, and AI might be the first reader capable of catching its rhythm. They never wrote on walls, they wrote with wool. And now, centuries later, we're closer than ever to hearing what those threads were trying to say. One knot at a time, their silence is unraveling. Not all ancient secrets lie buried beneath sand or stone. Some are hidden right on the page, concealed under layers of newer ink. These are palimpsests, manuscripts where original texts were scraped off and overwritten centuries later. To the naked eye, they look like ordinary books, but beneath their surface, lost the world's sleep. For generations, scholars believed what lay underneath was gone forever. Then came the fusion of multispectral imaging and artificial intelligence. Take the legendary Archimedes palimpsest. On the surface, it's a 13th century Byzantine prayer book, but AI helped reveal what was buried beneath. Mathematical theories penned by Archimedes, unseen for over 1,000 years.
In 2021, a team led by Anna Starinska and David Messenger developed a new AI technique. Using deep generative networks, they trained machines to isolate the overwritten layers. The result? Hidden texts became legible again, without damaging the original page.
In 2021, researchers Anna Stiskel and David Messenger developed a new method using deep generative networks, AI systems trained to detect and separate the overwritten layers of text. Without touching the fragile manuscript, machines began making the invisible visible. Now, this technique is being applied to hundreds of palimpsests, from Byzantine treaties to medieval medical scrolls, each one revealing slivers of lost science, forgotten astronomy, vanished philosophies. In an age obsessed with myths of secret societies and magical tomes, the real wonder is this. Knowledge once thought erased is returning. AI didn't just decipher what was hidden. It resurrected voices the world had silenced. The past isn't just underfoot. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right light and the right machine to be seen again. In the quiet hills of southern China, a language once whispered in secret is singing again. It's called Nushu, literally women's writing. For centuries, it belonged only to the Yao women of Hunan province, denied formal education and silenced by social expectation. So they created their own script, elegant, slanted symbols written on fans, cloth, and paper, hidden away from the eyes of men. They used it to write songs, prayers, and poems of pain, love, grief, resilience, all stitched together in an invisible sisterhood. By the 21st century, Nushu was almost extinct. Then came 2025. Researchers at Dartmouth College launched the Nushu Rescue Project, a groundbreaking initiative powered by GPT-4 Turbo. With only 35 paired samples, a fraction of what's typically needed, AI was trained to translate Nushu into modern Chinese. The result? Nearly 50% accuracy, an enormous leap for a script no machine had ever touched before. Another project, AI Nushu, went even deeper, simulating how the writing system might have evolved if it had passed through more generations. It imagined how women might have adapted, refined, or reshaped their code over time, had history allowed their voices to continue. But this wasn't just about symbols and syntax. It was about cultural survival. These weren't letters. They were lifelines, echoes of lullabies, eulogies, and sisterhood. Thanks to AI, what was once a fading whisper in the hills has become a voice the world can hear, soft, defiant, and unforgettable. Some mysteries don't whisper. They mock. Meet the Voynich manuscript, a 600-year-old book that feels like it fell from another universe. Its pages are covered in strange, looping script, illustrations of impossible plants, zodiac charts, and nude women bathing in what looks like cosmic hot tubs. But the true mystery isn't the art. It's the language. No one has ever seen anything like it. No known alphabet, no linguistic relatives, no translation. For centuries, it remained a silent riddle. Then came AI. In 2018, scientists at the University of Alberta ran the manuscript through a custom-built AI algorithm. Their hypothesis? The text might be scrambled Hebrew, with vowels stripped out and syntax rearranged. The machine found that nearly 80% of the words had possible Hebrew matches. One sentence even translated to something like, "She made recommendations to the priest, man of the house, and me." For a moment, it seemed promising, but when actual Hebrew scholars reviewed the AI's output, the illusion shattered. The grammar made no sense. The sentence structure was erratic. Even Google Translate threw up its hands. A year later, British scholar Gerard Cheshire floated another theory. The manuscript was written in a lost form of proto-romance, possibly by medieval nuns compiling a guide to women's health. Once again, the academic world shook its collective head. AI has taken its shot. So have linguists. So have cryptographers. And through it all, the Voynich manuscript remains perfectly still, smiling back in silence. Is it a hoax? A code? A language no longer living? Or the best hidden voice of them all? Whatever it is, one thing's for sure, it doesn't want to be understood. Not yet. When it comes to visual complexity, nothing rivals the glyphs of the ancient Maya. Spirals within spirals, symbols nested in one another like a linguistic labyrinth carved in stone. For centuries, deciphering these glyphs meant decades of study, guesswork, and painstaking visual analysis. Then AI stepped in and changed everything. The breakthrough began with a project called Artful Algorithms, led by West Virginia University. By combining art history and computer science, researchers trained AI to isolate and classify Mayan glyphs from huge databases of scanned stone monuments. Another initiative, segmentation of Maya hieroglyphs, fine-tuned machine learning models to identify and extract individual symbols with pixel-level accuracy. That might sound technical, but it's crucial. Mayan writing often layers multiple symbols together, each altering the other's meaning. To decode them, you have to disentangle the puzzle, and AI can now do that in seconds. These advances build on the work of legendary linguists like Yuri Norozov, who first cracked the phonetic structure of the glyphs back in the 1950s. But while he worked by hand, today's machines can process thousands of glyphs in minutes. And what are they revealing? Not just tales of gods or sacrificial rites, but stories of everyday life, marriages, harvests, astronomical records, and family histories. A civilization once silenced is now speaking in full voice, and not in riddles, but in remarkable detail. AI isn't just reading ancient text, it's restoring memory. With every scan, every pixel, it's giving the Mayan people their stories back, one beautiful carved symbol at a time. Long before the rise of Rome, another civilization ruled central Italy. Builders of cities, tombs, and temples, draped in mystery and myth. They were the Etruscans, and they left behind a language unlike any other. We've uncovered thousands of inscriptions on urns, mirrors, monuments, even tomb walls. Enough fragments to fill volumes, and yet we still can't read them. Why? Because Etruscan is a language isolate, a linguistic orphan. It has no known relatives, no Rosetta Stone, and only fragments of translation. For centuries, linguists stood at the edge of the ancient language, unable to step inside. Now, AI is pushing through the door. By feeding neural networks with everything we found, every etched phrase, every broken shard, researchers are mapping statistical patterns the human eye can't see. Suffixes, repeated word clusters, sentence structures. The machines flag them all. This isn't guesswork. It's structured linguistic modeling, built on cold logic and relentless computation. Unlike humans, machines don't tire. They don't overlook stray symbols, and that matters when you're piecing together a dead language from carvings that are over 2,000 years old. But what's the prize? It's not just vocabulary, it's culture. These inscriptions hold glimpses of rituals, trade, mythology, and identity. They speak of the gods Etruscans worshipped, the lives they honored, and the world they built, then lost. For centuries, the Etruscans spoke from the grave with no one to hear them. Now, with every AI-driven breakthrough, their whispers grow louder. History isn't done speaking, and finally, someone is listening. The past is never truly gone. It's just waiting for the right mind to hear it. So the question now isn't whether we can decode ancient languages. It's whether we're ready for what they've been trying to tell us. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.